Welcome, everybody, to this amazing call of Mother Nurturers. And you're going to hear from some amazing women tonight, women that you don't even know how they can get on a presentation at this hour and have their hair combed and their lipstick shining, but they do. And I've worked. My name is Gay Russell. I've worked with special needs kids my whole life, which is, my career has been a really long time. Started saying 45 years when I thought that sounded like so not so long, but kids have always been my passion and making a difference for kids, and especially kids that had a trying situation in life. Life was tough for me as a child. I lost a mother very young, and there wasn't support for that. You weren't support programs at schools or people that wanted to listen to what your experiences were. You were just supposed to go to school and be focused and pay attention. So that's what made a difference for me about one of the nutritional supports that we're going to share too, is that when I heard about this nutritional support, I knew it was something that I wanted to pay attention to, because I didn't want my daughter to go through some of my same experiences, or for her daughter to go through that. And so I knew, if I'm like the rest of you that had a lot of those days where we thought, okay, so what did I have today? I had 5 pieces of arugula for lunch, and I just ate a few tomatoes. And so that's two. That's not 5 to 9, is it? And so that was one of the things that I loved in being able to bring to the kids that I worked with. And so I'm just so excited for you to be able to hear from both Rihanna and Julie tonight, because again, my experiences are from my passion of my work, but comes mostly. I'm not a mom of a special needs child, and that's way different. When I was in the school system, I used to say to some of our assistants, remember, there's 7 people here supporting this 1 or 2 children, and those kids got to go home tonight to maybe just mom, who got home from work, still has work to finish or to catch up on. She would like to maybe have clean clothes for tomorrow. And, if she could have a dinner, that would be pretty good too. And so I have so much respect for moms of kids with special challenges, because you really are pretty remarkable. And so you'll get to hear from those two. The thing that I just love, though, is that, again, I shared the reason for my passion, which was because there weren't a lot of supports. And I'm sure there was many of us here that come to this business because we didn't have the kind of supports in life that we may have wanted to. And we wanted somebody to be able to recognize and say, hey, you're doing okay, Gay, or you're doing all right, Vicky, or, how about that, that way that you approach that situation, Michelle, or however we're being. And that was what I knew I was able to do, and I was able to do it even in my school programs with some of the special needs kids. If I had a young girl with Down syndrome that she was always misbehaving, and wanted to confront and challenge every situation in the school system. But when I had her be the leader that week of the social group, she put on her game like she understood everything that it was about. And she directed everybody, she guided folks, and it allowed me to see, wow, she had so much strength in her. And we were able to build on that from those situations. And I even allowed some of the kids that weren't even verbal, this week is going to be their chance to be in charge. And so that's the thing, it's so important for all of us to do, is to just be able to think that no matter what the situation is, just everybody wants to be acknowledged and recognized, whether you're the mother of a child, or the father of a child, a friend of a child, a support person for a child, or just somebody that got on the call today because you just believe in kids, and you believe in yourself, and sharing that message with others. And so that's a lot about what I was about when I worked with kids. I always say that maybe the greatest gift that I had in life was that I could see the greatness, and no matter what the challenges that God gave to a person in their life. And so some of my families have given me the opportunity to share some of those responses about what made a difference for them when they began sharing some of the nutritional information that I gave to them. And the company that sponsored this event, actually has fruits and vegetables in a capsule or a gummy, which makes it really easy for kids to absorb or to take. It also makes it easy for you to absorb, but it also makes it easy for you to swallow. And as it says, we all had those days where, I was running around all day and it just wasn't going to happen. So I felt like such a gift for my family that I was going to be able to help them. I call it that knot in your stomach you get as a parent. that I was taking care of my family in a way better way than I was before. And it really made a difference with how I was feeling. So that I wanted to make sure that I shared it with my clients and said, I have a solution that can help you with getting more whole foods into kids. Because my work was all about the discoveries that I made, that how you do feed yourself makes a difference in how you are in your happiness and how you are in your patience, how you are in your judgmentalness. If you feel yourself being a little judgmental sometimes, and it's often on ourselves first, and then second on the rest of the people around us, then it means that you might be a little low in your magnesium. So it's a time to make sure that you really up those greens, that your green vegetables are the best sources of all those magnesium and calcium supports. So I knew that I needed to help the kids that I worked with, but it wasn't an easy way. And this company had a way that I could invite them into a Healthy Family Starts program and say to moms, guess what, Rihanna? If you take care of yourself, we will take care of one of your children and provide this for free for them. It still gives me chills whenever I say it, just because it's what I was all about. Is that how can I help keep that parent healthy and then have that help that they're doing for themselves, model for their children. And that's how this program was designed. And so I loved that piece of it, that I could say to the parents, you have to take care of yourself in order to do the best you can for your child. So I offered it to my clients, and here's a couple of them. And while I act like I'm nonchalantly pulling up this program to do screen share, you'll get to see how I'm just filling time until I make sure that I get it right. Right. Okay. So can everybody see my pictures of my family here? Okay. So thank you for nodding your head, Rihanna, because I'm not sure if everybody else was at first, but this is a family that said, yes, we can't be on the call tonight, but please share our story. And so this was a family that came to me and said, I understand the importance of nutrition, and I understand why it will make a difference with my hyperactive child. I started working with their son when he was in first grade and into second grade, and then he actually graduated from the program. He graduated from the program because these parents took everything seriously that we talked about. And they took seriously when I said, it's going to be really important for you to pay attention to what you're putting into your child. A hyperactive child needs a lot of magnesium, calcium. Those are the calming minerals. The best sources of them are dark green vegetables. So mom started by first trying to increase his nutrition through regular foods, and found she made some progress and he made some progress, but each step that she took into flooding his body, the greater his progress was. So we went to trying some isolated magnesium. She tried it in foods, and then she went to isolated magnesium, and then she was just at that edge where it's not quite getting there. And I said, well, remember, the last thing that we talked about wanting to include is this whole food supplement made by a company called Juice Plus, which was a way to flood his body with lots of whole foods. And so this was a chance for him to really step forward in his best behavior. And so this picture is of the family. And the thing I love so much about the moms being here is that this recovery took place because his mom and dad took seriously. When I said, I'm so glad, Mom, that you down here can play the piano for your son who could now play the violin. But what are the parts that dad has? What can dad bring to this? Because dad needs to have a really important part in this. And so dad really liked meditating. And he said, I'm going to do 100 days of meditation, prayer meditation with my son. And it wasn't an easy one every day. It's not always simple for a first grader to do that. But I put such honor to dad and to the little guy for doing it. And I said, it's so important. That's your dad's gift. And he wants to give something to you to help you with that. And each day they would have their prayer time and their meditation time and talk about the ways of staying calm. And that's when I really began to see all the rest of the pieces come together. And so this was in first and second grade. By this, there was no medication. This was just on his own. And then I'm going to show you, well, I got him out of order. That's happened sometimes, right? I was going to show you this one first because this was the little guy when he first came to me. He wanted to do everything that was fast. He would get in the car, and he was a race car driver. He wanted to do, what first grader goes out and does one of these things where you fly up into the air, with somebody, but he wanted to do those things. That's why I said I loved ADHD kids, because they were the most energetic, risky, but compassionate kids that I knew. And so what we just talked about is there's times when you can be both those places and be both of those persons, and so we began to see this change. And now he's in fifth grade, and his two, whoops, just don't, we can't see that one yet. Hang on, because I want to just finish my story about this little guy. So now he's in fifth grade, and he just got his teacher said, this is the student that has progressed the most this entire year. And for a fifth grader to get that kind of assignment and recognition, in a year when most kids are totally focused on about their attention deficit, and they're not able to sit still, and they're not able to follow the directions, and they're not able to concentrate. This little guy got so much recognition because his teacher said he's the most improved student. And so these were some of the things that mom said that the teacher said about him. She said that his teacher said he is the most improved student in a fifth grade class. It started from the beginning of the quarter one, when the teacher had to remind him several times to make sure he was focusing. Now, the third quarter, he would proactively ask the teacher for stuff, like a computer to do his research on history. His math homework needs to be submitted by a certain time. He used to never do that on time. But as they continued to fall back into the systems that they knew that made a difference, they would see his behaviors make better. And we would touch base occasionally and talk about the importance of sleep and the importance of movement, all those pieces that make a difference. The teacher said he is smart, but he just needed reminders because his brain was so busy. And so she said now he can stay in his seat better. And she said that he is the one student that she will often look to see, things can be changed and make a difference when we just flood our body with a lot of nutrition. We flood our body with lots of positivity. We flood our body with lots of parenting belief, that the parents all need to believe in that little person. So no matter where you are in your walk of life, that's going to be important for you. We still all want our moms to feel good about what we're doing, right? Or our dads. And so that is one of my little guys that I wanted to share. And they're still to this day in the Family Healthy Starts program, and going to be off of that soon. And mom just said to me, that we're going to have to continue. We're going to have to keep on doing it. We know. So now we have to remove this. Well, I guess I don't have to because you can still see, but now I'm going to talk about um, a second person, which was a teacher. And she saw her son, that she had a lot of hyperactivity and a lot of struggles with focusing. And she, as a teacher, she said it's tough to have a child that has special needs in a school system, because a lot of times the teachers will come to you and say, well, what do you want me to do about your son? And she said, that's not my job when he's here. He's with you. And and so I'm going to share a little bit about what took place, or they're going to share, because they did a video for you, his brother and him, about what difference nutrition made for them when they started flooding their bodies. But it was also that good parenting again, and really believing in your child, catching them doing the right things. I call it making the list of when kids are having a challenge. I said, do you have your list on the fridge of when each person in the family is trying to catch the other person doing something great? And so it's so important for us to do that. Do it with your husband. If it's just you and your husband around, just try it for a week. I'm going to catch your greatness. And you're going to just see how it feels for yourself. But it's a wonderful thing, because she was also a teacher. But both she gave me permission to share this, but I'm just saying, please respect the privacy of their videos and don't post those things onto public media. Of any of my kids' pictures, the ones at the end are my granddaughters, and she came up with a system to hide her face, so you can take pictures of those. But this mom had some OCD history, and if you don't know about that, it's a system that your body sort of creates to help you through a really hard, painful time, and then you become controlled by that sort of outside energy. And I learned so much from this little guy, because he taught me that he could not give up that outside energy that was supporting him, because it had been his friend to help him when he was really sad about losing his uncle at a very young, early age, in an accident. And so he followed what he saw his family members do, and that was to just begin to do something. So and you don't know much about it. He just began to collect papers, and he couldn't throw a paper away from anything. His pockets would be bulging with stuff. And so he was so sweet, because it was like he didn't want to forget any memory, and there might be a memory of his uncle in there. And so when we did try to do the classic kind of supports to him, to say, let's just talk back to that obsession, and let's tell him we don't need you anymore. But I learned from him, because he was a kind and gentle soul, that that wasn't the way that was going to work. You know, I had to say, what helped you? And he gave me, the kids give him a name. And so I asked him about his name, and I just said, how did he help you? And he said, well, he really helped me know that I wouldn't forget my uncle. And he helped me know that I was gonna be able to do certain things. I was gonna get through the day. And so then we began talking about how we could share him just maybe one day of the weekend with somebody else that might need him, because he had more strengths now. And we talk about the Juice Plus, you're flooding your body with all that nutrition. And so that nutrition is in there to give you calm and remind you of your importance and help you make good decisions. And so I just want you to notice what he says in his video, because it's been a long time since maybe a year since I talked to him. And occasionally I would check in with him, and he still has remembered that piece. But his mom, as a teacher, said, I just want to make sure people know, as parents, she said, I've suffered my whole life with allergies. And since being on Juice Plus, I have less reactions, less secondary sinus infections and coughs. Juice Plus has made me feel much better when I'm on the go as a teacher, and especially with all these concerns recently about our immune system, knowing that I'm, if I end back in school or I don't, or, starting and it changes, we never know what's happening with that, right? That she said, I just feel that Juice Plus puts us at our best. Oops, I got a misspell in there. Just puts us at our best. And so I just love the piece of being a part of that with somebody. And so I'm now going to show you their little video. And then, so this is Brandon and oops, where's the video? Oh no, wait, I have to do something different. Stop share. No, I have to go into another thing. All right. I always say that when you encounter those of us that have to go like, wait a minute, how do I do this? It gives you a chance to have a quiet moment in life and to be okay with this. And so I'm going to go to this for a moment so I can find my video and pull it up. And first, and then I'm going to do screen share. Whoops. I have to figure out how to get back there, right? Because you don't see my guys.
Hey, Gay, while you're figuring that out, I just wanted to ask, just to add, just to kind of give some highlight to the spirit behind this meeting tonight is Troy Richardson's late mother. Mm-hmm. And she was someone who cared a whole lot for children and adults with special needs. And I just wanted to make sure that I kind of shared that, because he specifically asked that we kind of give a little bit of some love, to her spirit tonight, as we share this information about our families and these amazing families.
Yep. So, and that was the Dorothea that I was also talking about. But I'm glad you shared that too. So now I've only got Rihanna's picture there, so I'm counting on you, Rihanna, to let me know.
Yeah, I see it.
Power guard's going off in the background. So we'll hope that the volume's up enough. So this is my little guy with the spiked hair. He loves spiked hair. And this was his brother. And so this is their little message. And I'm trying to buy some time does the fountain in the back distract you? Can you hear okay? I'm going to start it. If you tell me you can hear.
Juice Plus gummies give me the vitamin and strength I need to be strong. Also, they help me make good decisions. Yeah, they actually taste pretty good. And it's a lot better than eating all those fruits and vegetables.
So I just love that. I love it that all these years later, they're still talking about the importance of flooding your body with a lot of good nutrition. And so I'm going to show these real quick to get to the other ladies. This is my granddaughter eating Swiss chard off the Tower Garden. That was her teething tool when she was 6 months old. And then this is her, this is her that Dr. Sears talks about opening up the he's a famous pediatrician. You don't know him.
We still only
Oopsie,
see the
wait a
video.
minute. Okay, thank you. All right, is that better? Oopsie.
Sorry. No, I
Sorry.
was just going to say,
okay.
We still only can see the video. We can't see the pictures.
Oops,
that you're
okay.
trying to
Oh,
show.
resume share. Yes, I have to hit resume share. No, wait. Oops. Okay. Hold on a minute. All righty. Well, you know what? Maybe that's just going to be something that we do another time. Resume share. Do you see? Nope. Okay, that's not happening. So maybe it's just not supposed to happen tonight. But I just want you to know that you can open up the capsules and give them to kids. And my granddaughter at 10 months old opens up a green capsule. And when I put those powders out, she just puts her fingers in, she stops eating whatever she's eating and dives into the powders. And so it's a really good feeling to know we're flooding her body at a very young age. So that's all I'm going to share. And now I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to introduce, before I mute myself, I'm going to introduce Rihanna. so that she gets an opportunity to share. And then we're going to wrap it up with Julie and all that she has to share. And so, oops, wrong place. And so I just want you to be able to know Rihanna here. Well, the fact that she's able to do anything because she's a mom of 3 teenagers. We remember what that's like, right? That's a challenge in itself. She's also an author and a wellness advocate for families. Her passion is inspiring others to live their healthiest lives so they can do the things they were divinely created to do. And that's just a mission that's got so much importance right there. So I'm going to go ahead and be quiet and let you share. Oh, and
Thank
then you did
Gay.
say you'll have to share at the end. And I'm also a parent of. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Gay, and thank you for sharing that information about those families that you've been able to inspire to live healthier as well. I just want to reiterate, yes, I'm a mom of 3 teenagers. My oldest is 17. And just the fact that I'm able to say that is a miracle because 7 years ago, we were in and out of hospitals with that little girl, and her health was very well challenged because of the neurological disorder she was born with called Rett syndrome. And Rett syndrome is actually on the autistic spectrum. It's actually considered the most debilitating autistic disorder within girls. And she had issues with seizures, and she had issues with her heart not beating regularly, and horrible GI issues that caused her to vomit about 10 to 15 times a day. And so when I say we were in and out of doctors' offices and in and out of hospitals, I'm not exaggerating in the least. They were like a second home to us. And thank God for the shaking in my own heart and spirit to want to be healthier, because that's how I stumbled upon these plant concentrates that Gay is speaking about. I was a sugar addict, and I woke up one day feeling so old and decrepit that I knew I had to change something if I wanted to outlive my daughter. And so I began looking for ways to change my lifestyle. And so I could stop, just craving things like Oreos and oatmeal cream pies. I was looking for a way to be able to eat more healthier. And so when I stumbled upon this product called Juice Plus, I was just really thinking about it for me and for helping me break my sugar habit. And but I was thrilled to find out about the Healthy Starts for Families program, because I'm like, oh, that means that since I am lacking in the area of feeding myself right, I'm also lacking in the area of feeding my family correctly. I can get it into my family's bodies as well. So I felt like somebody really just created the easy button for me there. And I pushed that button as hard as I could and got everybody going. But the really, really hard thing was that my daughter wasn't able to chew the chews and she wasn't able to swallow the capsule. So for about the first year and a half that the rest of the family was enjoying all of these amazing health benefits of being on this variety of vine ripened raw fruits and veggies, the one who needed the most wasn't able to get it in her body. And so then came the need to do this extensive surgery so that her spine could be straight. And the doctors were saying she does not weigh nearly enough. We need to get this girl on a feeding tube. And I fought against it. I don't know if any of you guys have children on feeding tubes out there. But I fought against it because I just couldn't wrap my mama brain around the idea of a machine feeding my child. It was really tough. And when we got to the point where she just was not gaining weight any other way, we gave in to the feeding pump, and it became her lifeline. And so any of you guys who are out there struggling against that idea, I just want to encourage you. I've been there. Go to the feeding pump because it just allows for you to be able to give so much nutrition into the bodies of that child. And so, so when we got the feeding pump, or got the G tube, we learned that we could twist open, like Gay was saying, we could twist open those capsules and empty those powerful powders into a little bit of warm water and send that right through that feeding pump into her little gut. And I didn't know what to expect, you guys. I just knew that it was going to be something helpful for her. It was helpful for every other member of the family. It's got to be helpful for her as well. I just didn't know to what extent. Well, 2 weeks later, her gums stopped bleeding when we would brush her teeth. And we knew at that point something good is happening because her gums had been bleeding for years because of how unhealthy she was. And so then we noticed that she was her teachers were telling us she's staying up more during the day. Her energy level was coming up. That same thing happened with me. So I knew that could happen, but I was so happy to see it within her because she was just a lot more active and a lot more aware at school, able to learn and do things for her IEP and things of that nature. And then we noticed that she was starting to finally gain the weight that she hadn't gained over like 2 years. She was sitting at 40 pounds for like 2 years. And we're talking about a 12-year-old. Okay. So, so that was that. And then we noticed that the vomiting was starting to slow down. And then we noticed that the poop gates were opening wide. And, if you, in the world of special needs, we talk a lot about poop, and boy, when you can clean out someone who struggled chronically with constipation, I mean, there would be 2 weeks and she wouldn't go. So we were so happy. I mean, it was a blessing and a curse, just for her to be able to kind of get cleaned out and things like that. She felt, you could tell, like the color in her face, she just felt so much better. And so what used to be in and out, every other month, in and out of the hospital, we are 3 years now with no hospital admissions. She has been removed from the medications that she was on for the seizures because she's completely seizure free. She has been now for 5 years. She's been seizure free. She's been removed from the heart arrhythmia medication. They cannot find the arrhythmia. It has completely disappeared. She has been decreased by 90% on the acid reflux medication that she was on. And the only reason why she has the little 4 milliliters a day that she has to take is because she does have a hiatal hernia that does cause a little bit of reflux, but it's not because of how bad of shape that her GI tract is in. Her GI tract has healed. It is in very, very good shape. And now if she kind of has a little bit of a vomiting issue, it's because her dad made her laugh way too hard. And that is okay with me. But I make him clean up. Like, if she goes, you're cleaning it up. And so we have this quality of life now that we are just so excited about, because for a long time, she was too sick to go out. We couldn't all go out as a family. Some of us had to go, had to stay home with her. Or if the weather was too cold, we just couldn't move out and be about with family. We were worried about her vomiting. We were worried about her seizing. There's just all these different factors that kind of limited us as a family. And so today we are a family of 5 still. I love saying that because there were years that we didn't know if she would make it to the next year. We didn't know if she'd make it to high school. We didn't know if she'd make it to double digits in her age. So we are a family of 5 living in Florida. We just decided to up and move in the middle of the pandemic because we like the warm weather and we thought it'd be best for her as well. And I can tell you as a fact that if we had, if she was still in having the health issues that she used to have, we would not feel the freedom to just leave her doctors that she had been with for years and move to a different state. I can just tell you that for sure. And so we're grateful for the quality of life that we now have as a family. And I'm just so grateful for the power of plant nutrition. You guys just never doubt the power of plants. Because there's all these tens of thousands of little teeny tiny medicines called phytochemicals that live in those plants. And that's all the things that she wasn't getting. And so she wasn't getting it through the formula that the doctor's office recommended for her at first, when we first put her on the feeding tube. And she wasn't, I mean, I'm telling you guys, if you ever need someone to advocate for you for the sake of having a plant-based formula, don't hesitate to give me a call, because this Pediasure or the crap in a can type of stuff that many of the doctors and dietitians and nutritionists are feeding some of these kids and adults, sometimes if there's seniors on a feeding tube, is actually making them quite worse. It's except instead of better. They're just looking at, it's got this much vitamin A, this much vitamin C, this much vitamin D, E, and they're looking at all the vitamin cocktail there in isolated nature and not really thinking about whole food. And so whole food goes a long, long, long ways for all of us. It doesn't matter, special needs, regular, developing, it doesn't matter. So, so that's our story. We're just so happy to be able to inspire other families to, live healthier and to, get more plants in their bodies. So that they can have the change and the increase in quality of life and living that our family has had. So with that, I am just so excited for you guys to hear from my friend Julie. I had the opportunity to get to spend a little bit more time with her when I still lived in the state of Kansas. And that is where she resides with her amazing family and her wonderful husband. And so Julie, I am just so excited to get to, I didn't do a very good job. I was supposed to read your
awesome.
your thing here.
You don't have to mess with it.
Okay, well, and she's got adopted children. She's got a son with Down syndrome, and y'all, she's just all that and a bag of chips. So Julie, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Rihanna. So my name is Julie Allen, and we live in a little town outside of Topeka, Kansas called Meriden. And yes, we have a lot of kids. We actually have 6 boys. And then we adopted at that time, 14-year-old girl. And then he used to be my foster kid when he was 6, and now he's 19. He has cerebral palsy. Our youngest son by birth is Cameron, and he has Down syndrome. So I kind of come to you from both fields, but the biggest one is probably Cameron, who has Down syndrome. And y'all, when you're having your 6th kid, you figure that you already know, and you know it's going to be a boy because that's just what you do. And he came in at 10 pounds. He weighed 10 pounds, which is totally unheard of in the Down syndrome world. And he was healthy. He could nurse, the doctor even said, Julie, he doesn't have Down syndrome. And I mean, I knew he did, but then it started. By 6 months old, he got chickenpox from the other boys, and he ended up in the hospital with double pneumonia. And I can tell you, from 6 months until he was 13, till he was 13, we started Juice Plus. That child never went longer than 6 months without being sick. And he never had candy. He never had soda. He never had, I tried everything to be healthy, but I could not keep him off of antibiotics. I could not keep him. And with Down syndrome kids, and I know a lot of other special needs kids, when they start not feeling good, if they can't communicate it, they kind of act up. And you guys, when I think back of how many times he was in trouble for simply not feeling good, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart when I look at now that we have been almost, in July, it will be 7 years that he has not been on a single antibiotic. He has not been to the doctor. He has not had bronchitis, sinuses, allergies, asthma. Y'all, I didn't even know what IBS was, okay? I did not know. I thought, he was always constipated, just like Rihanna said, pooping is a big deal. And sometimes when I seriously thought oh my gosh, you jumped up and down too much. We could be at a park, we could be in those play tunnels, and all of a sudden I'd hear some kids saying, there's poop all over the tunnels. I knew it was embarrassing. Oh my gosh, I'd pull him out, and for no reason whatsoever, his bowels would release, and he's trying to get out. He's slip sliding away and all this stuff. It was, oh my gosh, you guys, horrible. And I felt bad for him. When he was younger, his communication wasn't great. And, you know, like there was times where we'd be standing in line at Disneyland, and all of a sudden I hear a kid saying, that boy has poop on all over his shoes. And he got excited and there it went. But I had no idea what IBS was. I can set a clock to when he goes to the bathroom now, you guys, and that's unheard of. Like 7:10 to 7:18, it's going to happen. Don't be around the bathroom. It's not going to, yeah. And I mean, that in the beginning, you know, he doesn't like gummies because we never gave him candy. He didn't like the texture. So I put a capsule in some applesauce, and he took it and he said, that is gross. And I said, well, dude, here's the deal. These capsules, the 6 capsules, this was before Omegas, you're going to have to get those down. We're going to sit here and figure it out. And he looked at me. He'd never taken a pill like that before. And he looked at me and he said, okay. He took the spoon, put the applesauce on it, but didn't open up the capsule because he's smart. He sat the capsule on top of there and he took it. And then he got the next one and he took it. And I was like, and he said, I'm done. He said, don't open those again. And I said, deal. And he took those. And you guys, after about 2 weeks, he was the one reminding me, Mom, I need my pills. And I said, and he doesn't take any medicine. His thyroid was kind of on the fence. And I was kind of trying to figure out a holistic way to do it. I didn't want to medicate his thyroid because I knew it would atrophy. And I mean, he could outlive me. And then I'm going to have to look at one of his 5 brothers to remember to keep him alive by giving his medicine as a mother. It was horrifying. Think of that. And I can tell you that he gets his thyroid checked and his thyroid is on point. It's perfect. We've never medicated it. And that kid, he, as a typical Down syndrome kids can tend to be a little bit stubborn, and he's 18. I said, can you get on this call with me? And he said, no, it's Friday. I'm done with school because they've done so many Zooms. He was out. So apologize. He's not even in the house. Like he's not nothing to do with it. So, but he would tell you, and then the shakes were a little bit tough, you know. Down syndrome kids sit on the autism spectrum. They sit kind of on the fence. They can either be heavy in it or not so heavy. And so there's some things that are weird with his texture. And he's never drank anything but water. He went from nursing to water. So he's only drinks water. And so getting him to drink a shake was horrible. So I'm like, it was about 6 months later and I'm like, okay, dude. And he said, no, Mom, that gross. And I said, well, you're going to have to do it. So what we did is we took a tablespoon. I'm like, here you go. 1 tablespoon today. He said, okay, done. Then the next day was 2 tablespoons and I would take it out of my shake and give it to him. Well, then I started having him help him make my shake, but he didn't have to, you know, and then I'd say, here's your, you know, what day is it? And we'd look at the calendar and we started on the 1st of the month so that we could just do those days. It was easier. And by the time we got to be about 9 or something, he wanted to go do something else. He was done. His brothers, 2 of his brothers came by to play basketball and he's like, Mom, hurry. I'm like, well, dude, you know, you're at 4. And then he just took my shake literally and he drank it, like guzzled it, like he's seen his brothers guzzle stuff. He said, done. And he ran off. And I was like, okay. So I can tell you, like, when, you know, all the time, I'm sure, you know, a lot of you, like when you deal with special needs kids, you know, they've got some issues with stuff. I mean, I've had them spit it in my face. I've went to my friend's house, you know, with an autistic kid, gave him some, I'm like, here, just taste this out of their sippy. And I've had them literally look at you like they're possessed and spit that all over your face. Cause by gosh, you put something, it's like you put kitty litter in their mouth. Like they're not having it. And so you've got to be creative. And I, you know, because if it was medicine, it wouldn't be an option, right? If your doctor said this kid has to take this medicine, and when parents go, well, they won't take it, it's not an option. When you see how much the life-changing, Cameron Lally has not been sick. His speech is better. He doesn't have that green snotty nose. I mean, he always had a green snotty nose. I mean, I got his sped teacher. She's like, what are you doing? Whatever you're, you know, and I told her and she's like, can I do it? I'm like, yeah, you can do it. You know, what you guys have to know. And then as you, like Rihanna said, and like Gay said, these parents, you know, I'm 60 and I got 3 teenagers, 2 of them special needs at home. And Lord Jesus, it's, you know, God has to help me. He has to take the steering wheel and everything else some days. But I can tell you that there's other parents that are sitting out there that not only are they dealing with these teenagers, but they're dealing with sick kids. Like Rihanna said, you're going to the doctor constantly, and it's life change, it's life altering. I mean, you can't work a job because you're off too much, because they're starting to get sick, they get sicker, and it takes them longer to recover. That's all there is to it. I mean, Down syndrome kids, and a lot of kids are born with a low immune system. Like Rihanna said, you know, they want to go to a birthday party. Oh my gosh. And then you see the kid with the snotty nose going, and you're like, oh my gosh, get that kid away from me, you know, because you know your kid's going to be sick, and then check off 2 weeks of your life because they're going to get a sinus infection, ear infection, you know. And so you guys, there are parents out there that don't know they need it. They don't know that they're because they're going to the doctor, and the doctor can't fix them. So how can you? I own a commercial janitorial business. Okay. They look at me in the beginning. I mean, I have 27 employees. I have a big one, but who cares, right? I know how to get a skid mark or a ring around your toilet out. They're like, you don't know anything about nutrition. And I'm like, I don't have to be, you're just the messenger, you guys. Don't let them look at you. I don't need letters behind my name in order to share this business with somebody. And I mean, you guys, they're hurting. They're on their knees at night. And I mean, I pray for them at night. I pray that they're going to just try it.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I'm telling you what, our special needs, Rihanna knows, I don't know why, but God makes us a little bit, pardon my language, they kind of make us come into this world a little bit badass. Because if we're not, our kids will suffer. Gay probably knows it working with the parents. And my husband used to go, you know, I don't think they like to see you come. And I said, look here, I know that none of those teachers are going to be my friend. I already know it, because we're going to battle. We're going to go to town because I've got to advocate for my kid. I'll get a friend somewhere else. Those aren't my friends probably, because, you know, it's how it is. I'm not trying to make friends. I'm trying to make my kid's life count.
Well, and I think, Julie, wouldn't you say that a large part of what we do as mamas who've seen our kids journey through these things, and maybe Gay, you as well, with the families that you've seen with the improvements, a lot of what we do comes from like this place of education, like just really educating people about the power of nutrition and how the human body was designed, like literally designed to get medicines and powerful, you know, vitamins and minerals, all those things from food. And so I know for me, I just feel like a broken record sometimes, just really trying to drive that point home. We all need food. We don't need a crappy formula, you know, like Boost. Like I don't need, you know, like these things that just are vitamin cocktails, you know, in a package full of non-food like ingredients, you know, and like that's not where we're going to see the improvement. We might see some weight gain, but weight gain doesn't necessarily equal nourishment.
Right. And in a Down syndrome world, they tend to be chubby. You know, they've got a low metabolism. So they tend to be chubby. So we don't want the weight gain. I'll tell you something. My grandma, she was a dietitian back in the dinosaur days. And she used to say to us, I remember when Pop-Tarts first came out and Cheetos, she said, your body was designed by God, who created fruits and vegetables. And she said, you show me in that Bible where they're drinking out of a Mountain Dew stream, and then tell me where there's a Pop-Tart bush or a Cheeto tree, and you may have it. And I'm telling you what, that stood strong with me. But I can tell you that I had allergies and asthma since I was probably 3. And I can remember being oxygen tense, and then I passed it on to 3 of my boys. And I can tell you with Juice Plus, there's not an inhaler, there's not a nebulizer, there's not a allergy medicine, there's no medication. And I mean, I'm 60, which I'm not dead, but I'm just saying I have friends that are 60 and they're on a ton of medicine. And you know, so let alone our kids and then their kids. But you guys, you have your hands on something that's life-changing, not just for that kid, but it in their whole family. And like Rihanna said, your quality of life. I mean, Cameron, he goes wherever he goes. We've been in school, this whole COVID thing, and everyone else that's not on Juice Plus has pulled their special need kid from school. Cameron, boy, he busts in there like he hasn't been sick. And they're like, Julie, he has a low immune system. And we have 3 Down syndrome friends, one of them his girlfriend. And he's upset she's not coming to school. They don't want to go on Juice Plus, but I'm like, his immune system is rock solid. You know, he's got the armor. I said, he's good.
Yeah. Same thing with Kaya. I was like, y'all get that girl in school. Like, she's going to be so mad if I keep her home. Like, she does not want to be at home anyway. I'm like, she will get sick because she's at home and she's mad and she's not happy, you know, like send the girl to school. And, you know, and they're always surprised. It's like, she's here every day. I'm like, she doesn't get sick. The girl does not get sick. And I mean, the immune system of a horse. And so, you know, I think it's just very shocking because they're looking at what's normal for Rett syndrome. And they're looking at her and they're like, wait, something's not matching here. And I'm like, the power of plants. It's the power of plants. It's all Jesus and Juice Plus. Like, you've heard that before, Julie. I know, like, that's all I can say. It's like, I thank Jesus and I thank Jesus for Juice Plus. So
Yep, that's it. I mean, I really don't have and then I'll just talk really quick about our cerebral palsy kid. Since Juice Plus, even when he was with where he was living, since the day we knew about it, I knew this kid needed this. And I can tell you that his spasticity, his bowels, once again, are better. We just had August 28th, we had double leg surgery, and she wanted to just do one leg at a time because it's 2 months in full waist down cast, and it's a lot. He's 19. And we went in and she did a health assessment on him and everything and did blood work. And she's like, this is not a normal CP's blood work. When they have cerebral palsy, she's like, you know, if you're okay with it, let's do both legs and get it out of the way. And I'm like, let's bring it. And after 2 months, he got his cast off and his incisions, she went, left, we were at Children's Mercy. She left and went and got another doctor and said, you got to see his incisions. You have to see his incisions. And I mean, right now, so that was August 28th, you can't even tell that he had surgery on his legs. There's 0. And those incisions, he had 6 of them that were this long. He had tendon lengthening, tendon shortening, and then surgery on his foot, you guys. And I mean, and he's never sick. And he's never sick. And so his skin with both of my kids. So I don't want to run on because then it just gets to be like, oh, be quiet. But amazing. I'm just saying. And so like Rihanna said, if you ever, I love to share with special needs parents. And you know, because sometimes you got to shake them up a little bit. And sometimes they want somebody that's walked the walk because everyone's trying to fix your kid. And I tell them that Down syndrome parents kind of get a shell on them because you're out in public and somebody said, you know, if you were this with them, or, you know, I know Rihanna, like, you know, and it's like, y'all don't know my kid. Just like Gay said, I don't go home with them. But everybody wants to give you their advice, which I appreciate, but you're not with them 24/7. And so they put up this shell when, you know, the flower operator wants to come or the, you know, lunchroom lady or whatever. They're like, you don't know my kid. And so it's kind of a natural thing, but we don't mean to be mean like that. My sister used to, I mean, she's like, I think people are scared of you. I can tell how they look at you when we went to the church, to the school carnival. And she said, I think they're afraid of you. I said, I don't know what they are, but not my problem. So that's all I have. I can just say this is such a gift to not only everybody else, but I mean, our special needs community. I mean, God has handed them.
I think they needed, we all need it, but I think that if we can really encourage the special needs community to really get going with you know, this in their bodies, I know that is like my driving force. So
one more thing, sorry, Omegas. When we got the Omegas, you guys, Cameron had never had recall. Like they're really bad about that short-term memory. And those omegas, you guys, were life-changing for him. Between his speech and his memory, his teachers were like, Julie, okay, now what are you doing? Because he's even getting better. And we'd go to Disneyland that night, go into bed in the hotel. Gosh dang, what was that? You know, and you just spent like $2,000. And he's like, yeah, Mom, that was fun. Fun?
Yes.
Like we just went to Disneyland. And then, you know, we got into we hit a deer, and it was pretty traumatic. The lights, it was night, you know, a lot of sensory going on. That night, he didn't want to talk about it. And then he'd been on the Omegas for about 2 months. The car accident had happened 2 years before that. I slammed on my brakes for this stupid possum. We live out in the country that always did that. And all of a sudden it was like, they were like, he said, Mom, slow down. I'm like, what's going on? He said, you don't want to hit a deer and wreck the car. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to hit. I'm like, wait, what'd you say? And it was like his recall. He recalled that we got a new car. He recalled that there was 2 cops there. I had to stop in like tears because he actually recalled something. That was mind blowing to me. And that's when we realized that those omegas had made the difference of night and day with him. And that's what the teachers were seeing. I wasn't seeing it yet. And then when he started doing that, then I saw it. Then it was like, holy smokes. So I just want to say those omegas to me were like just the cherry on top. Like, thank you. So that's it. I promise
Wow.
now I'm done. I'll quit talking.
No, I mean, isn't it just grand to hear their stories and their life, and that, you know, and the ways that you've stepped in to be a stand for your child. You know, that's the most important part. And, you know, and another piece that people don't realize, I mean, I think, you know, divorce rate in most of the population is around 50. And in families where there's autism and any kind of special needs, that, you know, the average divorce rate can run up to 90%. 90% of people get divorced. So my first gut response when Rihanna said, we're still a family of 5, and I'm like, oh gosh, she's still married. You know, it hadn't even gone to her daughter. It was just like, thank heaven she's still married. You know, and maybe that was her husband that Julie just said hi to, you know, and I want to just say, bring him over, let's give him a hug together, because it takes good nutrition flooding through our bodies that we understand. Like my little guy said, I'm making better choices. I'm saying, wait a minute, I was just frustrated the other night, and when I yelled at you, and I didn't mean it to be yelling at you, can we talk about it? Or I was just having some moment of panic, you know, about our child's future, and what kind of money I have to have aside to make sure they're going to be taken care of, you know. And the rest of us may feel like we can have a bit more control of that, you know, but for Julie and Rihanna, that's very different, because there's also a piece of like thinking your families will be the ones to take care of them. But there's also a part of each parent that says, but I don't want that to have to be unless they choose it. You know, I want to be able to provide that protection. And so for most of us, you know, 10 years ago in the autism community, they used to talk about, well, then if you have a significantly impacted child with autism, you better be able to put aside almost $100,000 a year for your child for the greatest care. You know, who has that kind of money? You know, it's like families do need financial support. It doesn't have to be that much, but so like what you said, Julie, when you're out with somebody and you see something, just say, you know, you clearly don't have time now, and we don't need to, but I have something I want to share with you. It could make a difference like it did for my child. Can I send you some information later? It's so important to take that risk to say that, because if somebody hadn't done that with Julie or Rihanna, or, you know, Troy's mom hadn't done what she had done for so many people, you know, our special Dorothy that this is in honor of tonight, you know, then they wouldn't have had some of the progress that they had and the differences that they make. So I want each of you, if you're just hearing about this for the first time, go back to the person that talked to you about this and say, you know, tell me more. Tell me how I could make a difference with others. You know, if you're doing the mission of sharing now, make sure you just have great gratitude for yourself today. You know, think about those moms that have so much going on, and be grateful. Be grateful for that challenging kid that you might have. Be grateful for the fact that you might have, well, maybe you had said something you didn't like so much last night, you know, but so up your greens and so you make better choices. Like my little guy said, you know, but but just know that it is through the source of nutrition. I did a lot of educational things in my school system, and I couldn't always talk about a product, but I would just talk about what I knew now from the importance of fruits and vegetables. And I had one mom that came up to me, and her little guy used to be my favorite leader in the group because he was so involved, and he had a boatload of challenges and diagnosis challenges. And he had hit puberty, and he was different. And so she said, I know how important nutrition is, but cake is the only thing he'll eat, and he's just withering away. And I said, I might have a solution for you. Let's talk afterwards. And I had a sideline buddy that I used to refer people to in the school that was not in the school system. And I knew she would take good care of her. And so we did that. She actually said, well, I have a friend that just recently talked to me about it. I said, promise me that you'll call that friend. And if not, I'm going to connect you with somebody else that will. When we came back after the summer, he had grown like, I think, 2 feet. And we had the calm, happy little guy back again. And, just because, who can grow and prosper and feel good in their life if all they're doing is eating cake? Well, we'd all like to some days, but we know we wouldn't because we know how it feels, so.
I know how I felt from eating Oreos and,
Yes. Doesn't feel good. So, but our heart of sharing this, wouldn't be as important if we didn't have people like all of you that took time on a Friday night to get on the call, the Elsies, the Christies, the Ave Marias, the Troy setting this up, the Erlenes and everybody that's here, each and every one of you that's on, you make it important, for these moms to share some of their time and if, we can imagine what they had to set up just to even be able to have a quiet call and to be able to be there. So thank you, Troy, for organizing, these wonderful women and thank you for having me be a part of this and for each one of you and getting on this call so that you could hear some of what has happened for them and you can share that with somebody else and say, will you let me tell you about someone else and to pursue through some of their lack of being sure they want to make a change. And in fact, Troy is hosting another one of our friends tomorrow who is a gut specialist and it's at 2 Eastern. So Troy, talk to the person that invited you to this, ask him for the flyer. She is, and that's always important to special needs folks. Like you said, we talk about guts and poop a lot because it makes so much of a difference. And so I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming on and honoring these 2 brilliant and amazing moms and for honoring Troy's interest in gathering. And thank you for making the difference that you do in every person that we have the care and the risk to share this with, because we are changing people's lives. So.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us on.
Yes. And I always love to have everybody unmute and go,